Recognition of visitors and delegation. Would anyone like to address the board?
I would.
Oh, all right.
Hello. Catherine Elson-Green here on behalf of the NHTA. And we were talking at our meeting, and I was saying how it's a relatively new practice that we say the pledge during the board meetings. And discussion ensued about, well, do you think it would be appropriate if some teachers brought their classes or some of their students or volunteers to lead the pledge? Would you be opposed to
Love it.
students leading the pledge?
We definitely don't want
at
any
times?
students here.
We're not about the kids.
I just didn't know,
Oh.
and so I would like to be able to go back and say yay or nay that, and then we'll figure out what to do from there, but.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I can
Come
speak
here,
for the
to come
board.
here and do
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
great.
As
I mean,
well as
especially-
we visit all the schools.
Right, I thought that would be a good
Usually
way
ask the
to
student
lead off.
also.
Okay, but then even following that, they were thinking that it's probably a really nice tradition. The kids lead the pledge at least at Hughes, and they probably lead the pledges at other schools.
They know the words.
They do know the words. Okay, so thank you for your consideration.
Great, thank you. No, that's great.
Yep, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll do that. Approval of minutes.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Correspondence and communications.
Yes, I have one item for you. It is an addendum went around. You should have it in front of you for the appointment of a coach.
Okay.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Committee reports, PG&T.
Got it. We had a meeting on September 2nd at 5. Mrs. Mandel reviewed the draft 2014-15 BG&T committee meeting calendar. We were changed one date. I apologize because I can't remember what that one date was. It was in April, sorry. It was during break. We went over with Mr. Gagliano the Department of Transportation inspection. There was a 96.4% passing rate. It was, what, 2 vehicles, I think, or 3 vehicles that had an issue. They were immediately remedied. But it still puts our maintenance program among the best in New York State. We had the report, it summarized the results of all the inspections for the fiscal year from April 1st to March 31st, 2014. So from April 1, 2013 to March 31st.
You know, and just to add on to that, sorry guys, but you know, that's really a function of a whole lot of people doing a great job. You know, from the bus drivers to the mechanics and everybody. That's a very thorough inspection that DOT gives us, you know, in each vehicle, and I've been through it, believe me, and it's not easy to get that kind of inspection.
Mm-hmm. And then we also initially we had thought we were trying to sell the buses that we laid out, and then we ended up getting how much for the buses that we sold?
We ended up getting for 4 out of the 5, 27,000.
It was projected like 1,000 piece, so we did really well.
Right.
Have all those been sold and gone?
Yes.
Okay. We also did an update on the safety. Mr. Morgan gave us a safety update. We reviewed the building upgrades related to safety that were addressed this summer, including the security camera installation and the district-wide single point of entry. We had a discussion regarding the importance of having a single point of entry, and a decision made in November 2013 by the committee to lock the doors at 7 unless there is an activity taking place in the building, and we reaffirm that. We reviewed the safety officer implementation plan and indicated that it would be communicated to the public in the district's newsletter. We also reviewed the fire incident which took place at Perry on August 28th. We reviewed the incident report, which included future training for the staff. We also got a copy of that report. Then we proceeded to go on building tours of Bradley, the senior high. We actually had a correction. We did not have the opportunity because it was pouring to go on the transportation garage. We did look at it out the window. So we'll do that at another date.
When are we doing the other school?
Forget what the date is. When are we doing the other school tours?
The next one.
Yeah, October 7th.
Change the page, John.
So we have the calendar, which includes the tours of Miles, Hughes, and Perry's. Miles, Hughes, and Perry, single Perry. I guess we'll have to include the bus garage as well. And the meeting was adjourned at 6:30.
Thank you.
Yep.
7, new business. A, personnel appointments, permanent substitute teacher assistant.
It is recommended that Michael Winkler is hereby appointed to the position of permanent substitute teacher assistant. The service shall begin on September 17th, 2014, and end on June 30th, 2015, pursuant to the agreement with the collective bargaining unit. The appointee is certified initial in students with disabilities 1 through 6 and music.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Passes 7-0. B, permanent substitute library media specialist.
It is recommended that Jolene Leindecker is hereby appointed to the position of permanent substitute library media specialist. The service shall begin on September 17th, 2014, and end on June 30th, 2015, pursuant to the agreement with the collective bargaining unit. The appointee is certified initial in library media specialist.
Move. Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes 7-0. C, substitute teacher list.
It is recommended that the following be appointed to the per diem substitute teacher list pending satisfactory approval by the State Education Department. Elise Douglas Fee, speech language pathologist, and Bonnie Hibbard, music.
Move.
Second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Passes 7-0. D, full-time office specialist.
It is recommended that Kim Schweitzer be appointed to the position of full-time office specialist 1, effective September 17, 2014.
Move. Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Passes 7-0. E, coaches.
It is recommended that the following coaches be appointed: Thomas Powers, assistant JV football; Lauren Holliday, volunteer girls varsity swim; Vito P. Siniscali, volunteer assistant JV football; John Randall, head boys varsity basketball; and Robert Bird, volunteer assistant varsity cross country.
Well, you know, well, before I was gonna have discussion, it's a perfect time, Athletic Director John Bannock is here. I thought maybe he could stand up and the board could say hello, and also we could ask him, you know, does he support these candidates, is he aware of, you know, the full files on the candidates and what his position is on these. So, welcome, sir, we're very happy to have you.
Appreciate the opportunity. Nice to meet everyone. For those of the members I haven't met, if there's anyone of you.
Great. So, with these 4 candidates, these are your recommendations?
Yes, and I'm aware that there's concerns, and I've followed up on those concerns as recently as today. And I believe that the concern is more about the process than the person. From what I understand, that process has been cleaned up. I think if there was anything more than that, the recommendation wouldn't be there. And I followed up on that again because I took the concerns very seriously today, but it looks like the district did what they were supposed to do, given that issue at hand.
Thank you. Discussion.
Yeah, I'd like to recommend that we defer the coaches' ratification subsequent to an executive session. We do have a new board seated prior to some, subsequent to some of these issues, and I think it would be pertinent that the new board review the information as Mr. Bannock has obviously done so in order to see if there's anything regarding that information that would affect the voting of the new board that is seated now. I'd also like to invite Mr. Doug Owen to that executive session as well to provide us information regarding a particular person on this list.
Well, it's certainly up to the board whether or not they want to entertain an executive session. My understanding is that there has been no new information since November of last year, and at that time, the board investigated and made a determination, so, I would put it to the board. Is there interest? I will now entertain a motion to enter executive session.
I would also like to point out that the information was not given to the full board. The information that will be provided, should this executive session go, was not presented to the full board.
Was it presented to the athletic director?
I don't know.
Well, I believe the information referring to was reviewed by the senior administration and
Not in its entirety.
a summary of the report was provided.
It was not reviewed in its entirety, and certainly I would think that the board would want to hear it prior to the vote,
Well, I guess my question is, and certainly it's up to the board.
and new members especially.
Sure. It's certainly up to the board. My question would be, the facts really aren't in question.
I don't know if they are, Jim.
Well, let's put it to a vote. I would entertain a motion now if the board would like to table this for executive session, is there a motion?
Yep.
John, I made a motion to accept them. I haven't withdrawn that yet. Then I did.
Is there a second? Yeah.
No,
It's still discussion.
Right.
It's still discussion.
Right, well, so now the question is, does the board wish to have that motion withdrawn, to go into, to table this for executive session, or to proceed with a vote?
So we have to vote on the motion, so it's first and second?
That's a procedural question. There's a motion on the floor. A request has been made to table that motion.
You can make a motion, second table, and a motion, second vote.
Say it again?
And you can go into executive session subsequently. If you can make a motion and second the table. Executive session, you got a motion and second on the floor, so you can make a motion. If someone's not willing to withdraw it, if you get a motion and second, you can table it.
Okay. Okay, so step one is there a motion to table this? The current motion?
It's Jim's motion?
Correct. Is there a motion to table?
No, that's not Jim's motion. Ed's motion to table.
Right, so Ed is making a motion to table discussion. Is there a second? There being none, the motion fails.
I'd also like to make a motion under that pretense, that we individually approve each coach in order that I may approve those coaches that I deem New Hartford, deem New Hartford coach worthy, if you will, and be able to vote against those coaches that I do not think I would like to appoint.
Sorry, we have to make a motion to,
So a motion to modify,
no, I think we have to make a motion to approve and
to ungroup.
ungroup.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against?
Aye.
3 to 4, motion fails to ungroup. Okay, so I'll
I do
call.
have a question, so long as we're still discussing this. You have new information that you feel that the board has not heard before, is
Yes.
that correct? I mean,
And-
realizing that I'm new and I did not hear.
And certainly
the
you
information.
haven't had it, and the board has not heard it, sure. I do,
Can I ask why you didn't bring this up
before when?
before right now?
Oh, I have.
We were all sitting there, you didn't even say anything.
I know, but I've been discussing it with Bob and with John.
Well, my understanding was and maybe I misunderstood, but there was no new information. It was reviewing the source material from which allegations ensued.
And from which the source material was not reviewed in its entirety, reviewing all aspects of what transpired. Therefore, that information was not communicated to the board. So in order to, in my opinion, it's up to you guys, in my opinion, in order to make an informed judgment, that we should all hear, as I have, the information in its entirety and make a decision. I mean, it's a couple of minutes, I don't know what the big deal is, but that's up to you guys.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. Is there any further discussion?
Yes. Now that we're not gonna do any of those stuff, I'd like to say that my vote tonight will not reflect a no vote for 4 out of the 5 candidates. That my no vote strictly reflects my position on Mr. John Randall and the head boys varsity basketball.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes 6-1. B, Committee on Preschool Special Education.
The recommendation from the Committee on Preschool Special Education's meeting of August 19th, 2014 is presented for approval.
Is there a motion? Second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Passes 7-0. C, amendment to contract. Whereas whereas at the end of August, the evaluation for the Superintendent of Schools was completed, and the Board of Education deemed it appropriate to provide an increase in compensation from that provided in the 2013-14 school year. Now therefore be it resolved, that the Board of Education hereby approves the amendment of superintendent's contract, providing in lieu of an increase in base salary during the 2014 school year, payment of a one-time $6,000 stipend.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, question. Why was not this provision negotiated within the current contract? In other words, I understand the dollar amount, we would always have to amend the dollar amount into an existing contract, but the provision for the increase itself, any increase, was not part of the current contract negotiation, and I just want to know why that was.
Sure. Well, my understanding is, first of all, the board always retained its discretion to amend the contract to provide an increase. In fact, historically, that's how the contract always read. It never had any matrix based on strict matrix for performance. The board decided with this new contract in a forward-looking manner that we are now having a matrix put in place that will dictate future raises. That doesn't remove the discretion of the board to do exactly what it's doing here under the same process that it's always done in the past. And so this is simply, it wasn't that there was something omitted from the contract, it was simply continuing on. In fact, this would have affected his old contract.
Is there a provision in the current contract for this stipend?
There is not a current provision for a stipend that is not included in base compensation.
I guess my next question is, during the negotiation, was it a matter of good faith between the parties that this raise for the previous year, or stipend for the previous year, was to happen? And although not included in the current contract, was it a, between the negotiators, was it always a given that that raise would come to fruition in absence of it being a provision in the current contract?
It's never, in my opinion, and as part of the negotiating team, it's never a given that anyone is deserving of a raise. But it was also understood that once the evaluation of the superintendent was complete, that certainly a raise of some sort for the previous year would be entertained.
But that wasn't negotiated into the contract?
Nor should it be.
Why?
Because that contract was prospective.
Exactly. But no, but it was, when it was voted on, it became effective immediately.
Understand that for future compensation, future years.
For current compensation, because the salary continued on. So when we voted on the current contract, it became effective immediately.
Correct.
And there's no provision in it for this stipend. So my question is that, I just want to make sure that it wasn't the intent of the negotiation between the two parties to omit this from last year. You know what I'm saying? It would seem to me that, that Bob would have negotiated in, oh, and don't forget, I've got a raise coming in 2013, 2014, should you deem it appropriate, and that provision would have been put into the contract.
Well,
but it wasn't.
Sure. If you look at it, it was not an omission, and there was not an agreement one way or the other If you look at his existing contract, it does not contemplate or address compensation for 2013-14.
Right.
Okay, and so the board retains its discretion to look after an evaluation is completed, and given the performance of an individual, whether or not we deem it appropriate to provide any additional compensation. And the board has expressed interest in providing this additional compensation.
Okay, I guess my problem was that it wasn't negotiated originally into the current contract and should have been in order to provide the citizens, you know, a contract that they could anticipate that further funds were going to be, or possibly could be, given to the superintendent.
I understand your position. I thank you for those thoughts. I respectfully disagree. But does anyone else have any comments? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 6-1. D, budget transfers.
It is recommended that the July 31, 2014 budget transfers be approved.
Is there a motion?
Moved. Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. 8, other business.
Yes, I have one for executive session pertaining to
Can I have a
pending
motion?
litigation.
Can I have a motion to enter executive?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We'll go into executive session in 5 minutes. Wow. Thanks.
Lisa Phillips. Not as much as